Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Nez Nation Live. We've got a lot to cover today. The top stories that the woke fake propagandist media won't share with you, but you're going to get them here. One of the biggest stories we're going to talk about today is MSNBC hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski have thought about a new approach to Donald Trump, and it has angered and completely caused unhinged reactions from their faction, their audience, which is essentially the radical extreme left. 93-year-old William Shatner says he doesn't get why Kamala Harris, he went on the Bill Maher podcast and says, I don't really understand how Kamala Harris didn't win. We're going to talk about that in a second. Brendan Carr is the new FCC chairman. But first, Jose Ibarra, who was charged with MURDER, I can't say it or else they'll deplatform us, of Laken Riley, has just admitted, his roommate has just admitted on the stand that they were paid and given flights from the Biden-Harris administration to travel to Georgia, where he met Laken Riley and she met her disastrous fate.
Someone else that you got to know, that you lived with while you were here in Athens?
Alguien más que llegaste a conocer, que vivió con ustedes aquí en Athens.
Giancarlo Hernández.
Giancarlos Hernández.
Okay. And how did you get to Athens?
¿Y cómo llegaron a Athens?
En Nueva York pedimos en Manhattan.
In New York, we asked in Manhattan.
En el Hotel Roosevelt.
En Hotel Roosevelt.
De Manhattan pedimos un vuelo humanitario aquí hasta Atlanta.
In Manhattan, we requested for a humanitarian flight to come here to Atlanta.
And when was that?
¿Y cuándo fue eso?
Como el de 9 a 10 de septiembre.
Around the 9th, 10th of September.
And where did you go when you arrived in Athens?
Y cuando llegó a Athens, ¿a dónde fue?
Al aeropuerto airport.
To the airport.
Al aeropuerto de Atlanta.
Airport.
Jackson Airport.
So it was true. They were flying in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of illegal migrant criminals into our country on taxpayer-funded dollars, sending them to swing states in order to essentially delegitimize our election, rig it completely. Trump was right about everything. I truly believe the only difference this time why they didn't succeed is we were actually prepared. I mean, my fellow Americans, this story should be, we should see huge, stark headlines across the world. The scandal of flying in illegal immigrants and dumping them in swing states in order to sway the election in their side because they know they can't win with the most notoriously unqualified DEI pick, Kamala, should be the biggest, largest scandal in American history. Never mind what happened in 2020 with Joe Biden. How in the world did Joe Biden get 20 million more votes than the Black Messiah, President Obama? It makes zero sense. So we flew in this criminal on our taxpayer money, and not only that, because criminals do what criminals do, he ended the life of Laken Riley, an American citizen, a young, promising, intelligent, had her future ahead of her. God bless her and her family. This should be investigated. January 20th, 2025 cannot come soon enough. You won't hear this on propagandist, fake mafia, corrupt media. The live stream media will not talk about this. Flying in hundreds of thousands of people. It is beyond reprehensible. It is beyond criminal, and they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Joe Biden, Kamala, you have blood on your hands. Okay, in other news, more, a lot better news, good news. We have a brand new chair of the FCC appointed and nominated by President Donald Trump, Brendan Carr, who is an advocate for free speech, who is anti-censorship, anti-suppression, anti-shadow banning. This is fantastic to keep corrupt woke mafia accountable, hold the fire to their feet because all they do is lie. Wait till I share this story about Mika and Joe. But I just wanted to share this quick clip because Elon Musk, who is launching the most, I call Elon Musk the modern day Leonardo da Vinci. I truly believe we wouldn't have a platform if he didn't buy X, formerly known as Twitter, back in 2022, 2021. I can't remember when it was exactly. He supplied millions of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton victims with high-speed internet. Listen to what Brendan Carr says. The Kamala Harris-Biden regime have spent of our taxpayer dollars in rural communities to get internet. Check out how abysmal this is. And I love this guy, and I'm happy that he's going to hold them accountable. Check this out.
2021, Vice President Harris agreed to lead the administration's signature $42 billion effort to extend internet service to millions of Americans. It's now been 1,039 days since that program was enacted. After all of that time, not one person has been connected to the internet. Not one home, not one business. Not even one shovel worth of dirt has been turned. And it gets worse. No infrastructure builds will even start until sometime next year at the earliest, and in many cases, not until 2026. This makes Vice President Harris's $42 billion initiative the slowest moving federal broadband deployment program in recent history. With Vice President Harris at the helm, Politico recently reported on the, quote, frustration in finger pointing that defined the program's, quote, messy, delayed rollout. One state broadband official described, quote, a chaotic implementation environment, dysfunction, delays. She added that the administration, quote, has provided either no guidance, guidance given too late, or guidance changing midstream. The administration, she said, is slowing states down. So what has the administration been doing over the last 1,039 days instead of connecting Americans? It's been advancing a wish list of progressive policy goals. The $42 billion program led by Vice President Harris is being used to push a climate change agenda, DEI requirements, price controls, preferences for government-run networks, and rules that will lead to wasteful overbuilding. All of this will leave rural communities behind. Frankly, it would not be the only time the Biden-Harris administration has left rural America behind. In 2020, the FCC secured a commitment from Starlink to provide internet to 640,000 homes and businesses for about $1,300 per location in federal support. But the government revoked that award last year after President Biden gave agencies the green light to go after Musk. The administration is now spending dollars on the penny to connect locations through its own initiatives. Senator Cruz released a report identifying entire projects where the administration is now spending over $100,000 per location for internet. So here's the bottom line. Absent major reforms, Vice President Harris's $42 billion program is wired to fail. It's time to correct course. Get rid of all the extraneous political goals and focus on quickly connecting Americans.
This guy sounds like he's really, really common sense. He doesn't believe in DEI. He believes in doing the right thing. He believes if you allocate federal funding, you should actually implement it. He doesn't believe in chasing and convicting and going after Elon Musk, who to me is, again, one of the most innovative human beings to ever step foot in the United States of America. An immigrant, mind you, an African-American immigrant. Let me know what you think in the comments about Brendan Carr. I think this is a terrific appointment. Okay, in our next story here, we have 93-year-old William Shatner says he doesn't understand how Kamala Harris lost. He says the economy was good, interest rates, inflation was dropping, people were working, gas prices were dropping, Grocery prices were dropping. Here's a guy who probably makes, I don't know, $50,000 a day just on syndication. Here's a guy whose net worth is over $100 million. So again, these out of touch, completely removed from reality, Holly weirdo pedos still have zero grasp as to why hardworking everyday Americans, the 99 percenters, us, why we would vote for Trump. Why we're struggling at the gas pump, why we're struggling to pay our bills, why we're struggling to pay our utilities, why we're struggling to pay rent, our mortgage. It just blows my mind. I can't play the clip because it's copyright, but it essentially that's what he said. He says, I'm so confused. Thankfully, Bill Maher says, well, I think I have a pretty good idea. I'm not a fan of Bill Maher at all. But it just goes to show you that, again, this entire subculture of Holly weirdos. I remember when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, film, cinema was preeminent. It was everything. I mean, cinema in the 80s and 90s was an event. Going to the movie theater was an absolute event. Do you feel the same way now? Even my kids are sick and tired of all these superhero woke Disney films. I mean, it's just, they've lost so much touch. And I'm hoping with Trump getting in there with some common sense finally returning to our governing bodies, we can actually end DEI. We can end woke once and for all. Give me your thoughts and comments in the comments down below. Okay, so you guys probably all know him. I don't watch them. I can't watch them, but I've seen clips and I've shared clips. MSNBC hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. These are the same hosts, the same quote unquote pundits. They're not real journalists. They're not real reporters by a long shot, who have spewed nothing but the vilest pejoratives about our president, Donald Trump, just came out today and said, hey, we went and kissed the ring. We went to Mar-a-Lago. We think it's time for a different approach, trying to play it both ways. I'm going to play you a clip then. You can see at the top of your screen what they've been. I mean, they've literally been calling this guy Hitler, Mussolini, Nazis, fascists, threat to democracy for years, if not longer. And they have sparked the ire of their base. And I'll show you a quick clip of a reaction to Mika and Joe. But let me just play this really quickly. So pay attention to what they used to say at the top and then what they're saying today. Listen to this.
And then he says that the news network that is most critical of him should be taken off the air. This is not a reach. I could go back and talk about Nazi Germany, and I do it without any concerns whatsoever. And if people can't start drawing the parallels, well, you're just stupid, or you have your head in the sand, or you're one of them.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years
'Cause
of
you're
political
frauds.
warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realized it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
Like the level of patheticness, the level of desperation. It is so apparently, is anybody falling for this? It is abundantly clear and obvious. These guys know their ratings go through the roof when they talk about Trump. CNN is 100% happy and favorable towards a Trump re-election because their ratings were never higher. All of these absolutely fake, hypocritical, completely fraudulent shows. They're just literally like little opinion gossip shows. They're not real reporting. They're so biased. They're so filled with hate and maliciousness. They're so deceitful. They're so hypocritical. Of course they want to reach out to him. Of course they want to see what's going on. Of course they want to try a different approach. This is called job security. That's the only way they can keep their miserable, pathetic jobs. These are not reporters. These are salesmen. They've been selling. And by the way, the worst kind of salesman, snake oil, used car, doesn't even come close to Mika and Joe and Joyless Reed and Rachel Madcow and the rest of them, because they've been selling. And if they would have, if the American people would have bought it, they wouldn't change their tune whatsoever. They would triple down, quadruple down on it. The only reason they're doing this is because they lost and the American people are not buying what you're peddling. You can't have it both ways. I'm sorry. You can't call him a Nazi, a fascist, Hitler, a threat to democracy. The worst thing is rallies are filled with hate, anti-American, and then in the next breath go, well, we were kidding. These guys are all full of crap. They don't mean a word of anything they've been saying over the last 12, 24, 36 months. They have no conviction. I've been saying this for how long, my fellow Americans in this nation? The Hippocrats. They call him this while behind scenes, they do the same thing, if not worse. Oh, he said, grab him in the pee. You guys have never said stuff like that? You guys have never had locker room talk? You guys have never said maybe a couple of untoward things in a moment of emotion or lust towards a female? Of course they have. They are hypocrites. They're completely full of it. The same reason why Joe Biden, who called him a threat to democracy, called him the worst thing that ever happened to our republic, he is a threat, etc., open arms welcomed him back and said, hey, welcome back. It's great to see you. We're going to help you any way we can. We're all buddy-buddy now. They don't mean a word of what they say. Joe, Mika, shame on you. You are pathetic. You are awful. You have zero principles, zero values. You are just literally a media salesperson, prostitute, and the American people are done with you. I hope your show gets canceled. I was going to play a clip of Sunny Hostin, but who cares about Sunny Hostin? This video is already too long. Sunny Hostin came out and said, I'm really mad. And she's not the only one, a lot of other people. I'm really mad at Joe and Mika, and a lot of the base is infuriated by them going to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and save their own damn worthless positions. But I'm not going to do that because it's obvious. They're all hypocrites. They're all liars. They have zero belief in anything other than power. I've been saying it for a very, very long time. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. Please let me know in the comments down below. Sign up for our free newsletter. It's in the pinned comment, show notes, and description. It's your sure-proof way, essentially assurance so you never, ever miss out. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here. Tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. And as always, may God bless you. And may God bless America. I'll see you soon.